Now in this lesson we want to look at solving fractional equations. In solving any fractional equation, the very first thing you need to determine before you determine what the value of the variable is, you must determine what it is not. What do I mean by that? Well, we've always been taught that division by zero is undefined. Therefore, an x could never be zero in this equation, because zero as a value of x would cause an undefined condition here, here, and here. So before we get started in solving, we state x cannot equal 0. Okay? If we went over here with the equation number 2, we'd say, well, if x were 5 here, that would give us 0. Negative 5 here, and either. So over here's 2. X cannot equal 5. X cannot equal negative 5. Had we come down here, at least at this point, we'd say it can't equal a half, negative half. X cannot equal a negative 1/2, and x cannot equal negative 1. And when we get to this, we'll check to see, but I suspect the factors of this are right there. And over here, we should be able to see that x cannot equal 2 and x cannot equal 0. Always, before you go and do anything, determining what it cannot be is the very first thing, by determining what would make a 0 appear in the denominator. Let's tag these as problem 1, 2, 3, and 4 for reference. In any equation with denominators, the very first thing you want to do is get rid of the fraction, That is, you determine the common denominator between all terms. The common denominator here is simply 2x. 2x is going to multiply both sides of the equation. Effectively, it's going to multiply every part of the equation. Over here, 2x is going to multiply 3 over x minus 1 over 2x. The reason that we do that is because we get rid of the fraction right away. 2x times 1x, x's cancel, you simply get 2. 2x times 1, 2x. Over here equals x, 2x times the first term, the x cancels out, we simply get 6. 2x times the second term, 2x's cancel out, we simply got 1. Okay, so we've got a very simple equation at this point. Very, very simple equation. Okay, mainly we got 5. We're going to, over here, we're going to take 2 away from it. So 5 taking 2 away will give us 3. 2x is equal to 3. X equals 3/2. It's not one of the values that we said it could not be. We're done. Now, in this problem, obvious thing here is this going to factor. And when it does factor, lo and behold, the factors are what the other two fractions contain. And in fact, that is the common denominator. We'll factor x plus 5, x minus 5. And now we're going to multiply both sides in their entirety by x, by the common denominator, x plus 5 and x minus 5. Okay, on both sides, x plus 5 and x minus 5. This is going to cancel out entirely. Simply leaves us with, now we know when I'm doing this, and it won't shut off. Okay, sorry about that. And so all we're left with over here is 2x plus 1. X plus 5, x minus 5. The x minus 5s are going to cancel out. We get an x plus 5. Bring down the sign. The x plus 5 is going to cancel out. You're going to be left with x minus 5. If that were a negative sign, bring it down, put what's behind it in parentheses. Equals, There we go. All we're left with here is 2x. All we're left with over here is 2x plus 1. Now, what does this result in? This says 0 equals 1. Now, what does that imply? That simply implies, okay, that there is no answer. This is an empty set. We knew from the beginning it couldn't be 5 or negative 5, but because the variable canceled out and we're left with a false statement, there is no number which will satisfy this equation. So we say the empty set is the solution. Let's look at the next two. Again, we've already determined what x can't be. Now let's see what the factors of this denominator are. Very likely it's the 2x plus 1 and the x plus 1, the factors that already appeared there. We can check that. There's your 1x, there's your 2x, there's your 3x coming back. So there it is, and in fact that is the common denominator. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by that common denominator. Obviously on the right side, okay, when multiplying by that, we're just going to be left with the numerator of 2. Hopefully you can see when multiplying this term over here by the common denominator, 2x plus 1, x plus 1, the 2x plus 1 is going to cancel out, leaving us with an x plus 1 to multiply the existing 3. So we have 3x plus 1 minus this common denominator multiplying the second part. The x plus 1 cancel out, leaving us with the 2x plus 1. So now we have a very simple equation. We got 3x plus 3 minus 8x minus 4. Watch the sign in front there. Combine like terms, 3x minus 8x, negative 5x. 3 minus 4 is negative 1, equals 2. Add 1, you get negative 5x is equal to 3. So x is equal to 3/5 negative. And again, it is neither one of the numbers we said it couldn't be, so that's fine. Here, the nice thing, we only have, okay, two fractions, one on each side of the equal sign. Nice thing with that is you can make life a whole lot easier by just cross multiplying. 9x times 3 equals 5 times x minus 2. 27x equals 5x minus 10. Subtract 5x. 22x equals negative 10. X equals negative 10 20-seconds. Simplified, x is equal to negative 5/11. And we're done. There are a couple problems. Fractional equations. Thing to remember, always before you proceed, determine what the value can never be. Okay? That is, determine the value that will offset the denominator to 0. That's a value that the variable is never allowed to assume. And then, if an expression needs to be factor it. Then determine the common denominator among all the fractions and multiply both sides in their entirety by that common denominator, which will clear out the fraction and give you a much simpler equation to solve. Okay, that's it for those. We'll look at a couple more later.